economic status of the three countries will not remain the same. We are happy. We have seen the minister giving commitment that they also in idea very soon do the stretch from Naivasha to Malaba because even as Uganda we are constructing from Kampala to Malaba. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Good. I think with that, we can take a few questions. If you can give us the name, I saw the first hand up, the name and the media house, and then the question. Because of that, with Vincent, then we come to Jimmy with respect to investments of this magnitude. As you may be aware, just to use an example of the Uganda portion is about 170 kilometers. The Kenya portion from Naivasha to Kisumu, a distance of 160 what? 262 kilometers will cost us approximately $3 million. That's about 400 billion. 400 billion in terms of you just putting the cart before the horse. These are the kind of things we're discussing. We already are securing from RDLF a revenue of about 40 billion every year. And so we have got a good stream of a development levy, which is ring-fenced to build the railway. But if you look at that funding from a cash flow perspective, it's not enough to build the railway in 2-3 years. So if we were to secure and leverage on the 40 billion annually from the banking and the development partners fraternity, so that we can build the line in 2 months or 3 years. What are some of the things we need to do? Because financiers or lenders will require of us to meet certain covenants. So those are the details, things we are delving into to ensure that even as we talk to bankability of the project, there's quite a bit of social investment because investment in infrastructure to open up a country does not necessarily many times need to meet profitability. Otherwise, you'll never build roads, you'll never build the railway lines because that's how you grow a country. You open up the country for movements of goods to market, and therefore there is more of financial return on investment, but there's more economic return on investment. In fact, the broader growth of the economy. And so those are the things we are looking at so that we can look at, even if it has got a 2% financial return on investment, what is the portion that is more social, but more importantly, what is the economic return on investment to the economy because of the broader sparring of the economic growth in the various sectors, taking goods to market and so on and so forth. So those are the things we are delving into to be able to do. But in terms of really a government having a very clear path on how to finance, we already have that 2% RDLF Railway Development Levy, which we have done financial modeling and we are good to go. We are then synchronizing with South Sudan, working with South Sudan. And more importantly, what we are doing when you have the 9 weeks is looking at the volumes, updating the volumes of cargo that will move on this corridor. How much do we think will stay on the road? How much do we think will go to the railway? And more importantly, how will that, from the perspective of freight, if we want to do a freight concession, we are also doing the railway bid in Kenya, which will seek to really unbundle the infrastructure from freight, and therefore what kind of revenue will we get from freight, and can that revenue support and accelerate the revenue side, which we can basically backstop or be used to backstop the financing. But as it were today, we can start, but we don't want to start and run the project for 6 years. We want to be sure with the financiers and the lenders that if we start, our inflows can support us to be able to do that project in the shortest possible time. Jimmy, we don't necessarily have to increase. We recently got a small increase from 1.5% to 2%. We've done the financial modeling, and for now we are good with the 2% from the Kenyan perspective. Um, in terms of going to market, as to whether the market will allow us to service the infrastructure borrowing for this particular piece of project for 10, 15, 20 years. Railways really are long. I think they depreciate over what kind of length of time. I don't think in our financial whatever we have a depreciation. Mind that we have a depreciation, the way we say depreciate vehicles for 5, 6, 7 years. So we railway should attract long-term borrowing, and we are looking at 15-year facility, and therefore the 2% Jimmy for now in the financial modeling that we've done is adequate to support us. So those are the details we are delving into. In fact, for us as ministers, we're basically asking the technical teams to quickly finalize some of those studies so that we can break ground as soon as possible.
There's a question around whether you're going to do it jointly or each country is going to do their part.
Each country is doing their part. The point really is you don't want a situation where Uganda has done their part and they are stranded because Kenya has not done its part. So even as we do, each country does their part, we have to do it in a very coordinated manner so that the time to deliver for purpose of connectivity to market is about the same time. That's why we have to really coordinate and work as a team. Can I take the next two questions?
Yes, I'm quite. I work for the
Or is it, once you build, and when I talk about unbundling the railway business, and there's an act which has gone through public participation, it's heading to parliament. The draft Kenya Railways bill, we probably call it 2026, is seeking to unbundle the infrastructure from the cargo. And what does that do? The what do you call freight concession? What that does is basically like on the road today, we build roads and anybody can put the car on the road and pay a toll. So railway can own the infrastructure, and you can then really come in with your locomotive and run your locomotive on the railway and pay a toll to the infrastructure owner. And so the question, Koech, of whether we're going to be doing cargo, whether we're doing passengers, obviously once you build the line, you do everything on the line, not just cargo. You can actually have private companies being concession to move their cargo on the railway using their own locomotives and paying a toll for the infrastructure development and maintenance. And therefore, of course, we'll have several passenger services on this particular line, manage the signaling to be able to optimize the use of the line, and so on and so forth. The way to go this morning, we had a consultative meeting on the e-mobility. That was a Kenya affair alone, and we are trying to move very quickly on e-mobility as improve our carbon footprint, but more importantly, reduce the cost of doing business. Our cost of energy in Kenya, I was previously Minister for Energy. The cost of energy in Kenya is what it is because of generation of electricity using diesel. It is 3-4 times as expensive to generate power using diesel, a dirty fuel, which is the cause of the challenge of the environmental challenges we are seeing today. And yet we have abundance of wind, abundance of solar, abundance of geothermal, generating at less than 10 cents US, whereas diesel generates at a high of 30 cents. And therefore, you can imagine if we are running our economy using wind, solar, and geothermal in vehicles, in the train, and so on and so forth. So going forward, because of the very quick maturity in the e-mobility, we do also see the railway and other services going into e-mobility. Furthermore, we import diesel. For Kenya alone, we spend what, $500 million on the imports. We take that from our import cover to import petroleum products in this country, and yet we could leverage on our own source of energy. You don't necessarily have to have petroleum to run an economy. You can run it on wind, you can run it on solar, you can run it on geothermal, which is fully developed and more importantly, renewable and great for the environment. So we will get there in terms of moving quickly to leverage on the green, improve the carbon footprint, but more importantly, reduce the cost of doing business by bringing down the cost of power. Jimmy, again, the second question was?
I just wanted to know two things. One, on the timelines that you're looking at.
The timelines are, like I said, and I want to cover that to the question again that came from Vincent in terms of timelines and what South Sudan is doing. I think the most important thing when you spend time and when you spend time to understand what we are doing on the railways draft bill in unbundling the infrastructure from the freight, the cargo, is to understand when you build an infrastructure, it's not so much that it belongs to South Sudan or it belongs to Kenya or it belongs to Uganda. How much cargo is going to be moving on that infrastructure, and therefore whether South Sudan builds immediately, we want whether DRC comes on immediately. How much cargo can we get from DRC? How much cargo is available from South Sudan? How much cargo is available from Kenya and Uganda? And therefore, when we build this infrastructure, the traffic which will be on the infrastructure, which will be on the rail, is what really makes the rail bankable business. And therefore, we are looking very closely at the data. This is why we took to the 9 weeks to basically put in the data together. The data that has moved historically, the data that is likely to move, that is moving today, and the data that is likely to move in the future, contextualizing the policy change that may need to move more cargo to the rail from the road because of the carbon footprint. And so we are working as a team to basically make what will otherwise be a social investment in the short term to be more commercial and therefore be more bankable working with our lenders.
Do you have